Hey everybody, it's Aidan here once again with another edition of Pressing Issues, the series where I stop being nice and go balls deep into the issues surrounding sim racing and the real world of motorsport, and I say exactly what I think on something. It's all brain to Microsoft Word document to mouth to YouTube with no filtering mechanism whatsoever. Although Pressing Issues is mainly an outlet for venting and having a bit of a rant, this is my personal analysis and opinions of what happened at the recent Italian Grand Prix, with possibly a bit of ranting thrown in. I haven't written that part yet, we're only on the intro, so let's just go with the flow. Now, according to Mike at Sim Racing 604, I'm not afraid to go into controversial issues surrounding motorsport and sim racing. Now, this is probably the most controversial thing I've ever done, but under my rights of freedom of expression gifted to me as being part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and yes, that's my actual passport on screen, and the fact that YouTube is American and I theoretically get to exercise my First Amendment rights, I'm going to go into it. But that's the way I operate this channel. If you like what I do, welcome. If you disagree with me on anything, then I'm more than willing to have a civilised conversation with you on any episode of Pressing Issues or Storytime. And if you don't like it, no hard feelings, you're free to leave, and maybe I'll see you again soon on one of my videos that you do like. You're entitled to your opinion, as I'm entitled to mine. But this is 2018 after all, people are only allowed an opinion if it matches yours. Why is it controversial? Because I'm going to be criticising the red Formula 1 cars and the seemingly increasing amount of moronic fans that support them. Now, not every Ferrari fan is a moron, so don't worry that I'm having a pop at every single one of you. Let's be very clear. Ferrari has done a fantastic job to close the gap, and it's great to see Mercedes having to work hard for a title for a change, and it's made F1 more interesting. I'm simply having a go at the fans on social media that spout the same deluded shit every single time they lose. Now, that's not all of them. There are those who will hold their hands up and say well done to the Germans, but unfortunately there are those on both sides that ruin it for all. How diplomatic of me. I get it. Monza is the home of the Tifosi. It's to Ferrari fans what Wembley is to us English football fans, Mecca for Muslims and the Vatican for Catholics. It's their shrine, it's their temple of speed, so expectations are going to be high. By all means have expectations, especially with how great that Ferrari is in a straight line and good god it's quick. But throwing your toys out the pram because you were beaten on the day by a superior strategy call and clever tactics by the other team looks childish and doesn't do you any favours. To be fair though, the baiting by the Hamilton fans is just as stupid, so don't think that they are immune to criticism here. I know I pretty much covered that in another episode of Pressing Issues, but it seems that since then things have reached new lows, and the amount of people unable to take a fair loss, as was the case at Monza this last weekend, and the stupid conspiracy theories and double standards and sore losing have now swept across the message boards like a virus. And again, it's true of both sides, but it seems worse on the red side. Probably because there's more of them. There's the raft of comments that appear after every race. Conspiracy theories that the FIA is in bed with Mercedes, that the FIA wants their golden boy Hamilton to win, that the tyres were to stop Ferrari at 3 separate occasions. Sorry, but did you miss the early 2000s? There's a reason the FIA said to stand for Ferrari International Assistance. During the early 2000s, Ferrari would only have to ask for Raikkonen, Montoya or whoever to be penalised and they would get it. Todd, Brawn, Schumacher and company had a level of power that people in this sport could only dream of having. Bernie even confirmed that in an interview with La Repubblica, saying that helping the Reds was the smartest thing to do. Max Mosley would do more to help them through the regulations than Bernie ever did in terms of money. When the Spygate story broke, Renault and Toyota were found to be in possession of other teams' data that they had nicked. They, along with McLaren, were charged, and only McLaren was punished, because only one of those teams was a direct threat to Maranello. Mercedes have had their oil burning stopped, their trick suspension banned, frick banned, and other things stopped to slow them down. Renault had the mass dampers banned, McLaren had their second brake pedal banned, Michelin had their tyres changed in 2003. These are all things that harmed Ferrari's rivals. Then there's also let Michael buy for the championship and Fernando is faster than you. I like saying it in Ross Medley's voice. And these are two of the most blatant incidences of race fixing either side of Crashgate. What Mercedes does with Bottas in being a number 2 is no different to Barrichello and Massa being used as a number 2 to serve the number 1 driver that would challenge for championships. If Bottas is a butler, then those two are Labradors. Contractually obliged Labradors, which is why I don't think Charles Leclerc should go to Ferrari yet. The FIA is not in bed with Mercedes. Mercedes have done nothing wrong. You can cry all you want about Mercedes not being penalised for hitting anybody because neither Hamilton or Bottas have hit anyone. Getting to some semblance of a point here. What Mercedes did at Monza was play Ferrari at its own game and won. And Ferrari fans don't like it when the shoe's on the other foot. Racing isn't just racing. There's tactics involved, there's strategy, and if that means one guy holding the rival drivers up for a bit to maximise a points haul, then so be it. It's a team sport. As much as I rate Bottas, he is a great driver and he's got a very, very good junior record. But he isn't Hamilton. Same way Raikkonen is not the driver he was 10 years ago, and Massa certainly wasn't Alonso. Senna and Prost and Hamilton and Rosberg shows that 2 number 1 drivers in a team does not work. It's all a game of poker. Ferrari had an ace up their sleeve in Vettel and Raikkonen being on the front row. There were many, including myself, that were thinking that Kimi would fall to multi 57 at the start of the race, either into turn 1 or through Curva Grande into the second chicane. But instead we got something else. From the trackside cameras, it appears that Vettel is going to try and dive bomb Kimi into the Variante del Roggia. Did I pronounce that correctly? But at the last second sees Lewis attempting to go around the outside. Seb panics, understeers into Lewis, and is sent into a spin. No action taken, as it's a racing incident and Lewis had left plenty of room. Ferrari is now on the back foot, and for Mercedes it's a dream outcome. Kimi now has to face Hamilton, Bottas and Verstappen alone. In hindsight, Vettel should have left Kimi alone, let Hamilton go, and with the pace of that Ferrari would have got Hamilton back, and multi-57 could have been applied later on if need be, depending on how quick Hamilton was and how much of a nuisance he was to both those Ferraris. With only one Ferrari to worry about, Mercedes could set about maximising a points haul, gain Lewis some traction in the Drivers' Championship, use Bottas to back Raikkonen in, let Lewis pounce after Kimi had destroyed his tyres and leave Lewis to get by him. And it worked. Lewis first, Bottas third after Max is penalised for moving in the braking zone, again, and Kimi in second with Vettel being promoted to fourth because of Max's penalty. So it's not a bad loss, all things considered, but it's Ferrari losing at Monza. It's a tragedy. All that said, the fact Bottas struggled to get past Max is worrying. Kimi's second place was a great result after fighting alone for the entire race. Now speaking of Raikkonen, there are a lot of people out there shouting that Raikkonen has to now go in favour of Leclerc for 2019, because he lost the race. How is losing at the home track his fault? Unlike Sebastian, he got into 2 battles with Lewis and on both occasions got out on the other side without hitting him, which is more than can be said for Vettel, who has now hit both of the Mercedes this year. You can't pin any of the failure on Raikkonen. Ferrari only took 3 sets of yellow walled soft tyres to Monza, 2 for Kimi and 1 for Sebastian. When Seb went in to change his nose at the end of lap 1, Ferrari put the yellows on, but because of the wet practice on Friday they hadn't got any data. Mercedes watched as Seb rinsed them, fed that data back to Lewis and Valtteri, so Bono left Lewis out as long as possible to reduce the damage that Kimi was doing on his tyres. 8 laps fresher tyres, knowing that they'd react to the conditions. Lewis saved his tyres, Kimi wrecked his tyres, Lewis won. The Tifosi was suitably pissed too. Boos echoed throughout the circuit, although I can't tell if they were saying boo or bootas. Gianluca Gasparini called it La Frittata di Monza, which roughly translates to something that resembles a shit omelette. It was fantastic strategy and brains, and that's how Mercedes won. That's Formula 1. You can't blame it on Kimi at all. The buck stops on the Ferrari pit wall and Seb to an extent. They went too hard. They went too soon. They thought the race was won before it had started. And the only thing that saved Seb's race was the safety car triggered by Hartley and Van Dorn coming together. Cynics could argue that it was to help Vettel get back into the race, but a stranded car on a 230 mile an hour straight? Probably for the best. The fallout from this on social media has been a mix of hilarious to embarrassing. Kimi must go, it's everyone but Vettel's fault, Mercedes are disgusting for using team orders, Hamilton wasn't penalised because the FIA sucks their dick, and so on. Ferrari fans crying over team orders. Fernando is faster than you. Like I said in the video I did about Ferrari and Mercedes fans being a bunch of childish morons, this year has been the absolute worst for fan interaction. It reached a new low around the British Grand Prix, bottomed out at Germany, sort of became okay again around Hungary, and now it's reached the bottom of the Mariana Trench this weekend. Essentially, 2018 social media has taken 2017 and twatted it for 6. That's a cricket reference, by the way. All I ask is for everybody to just enjoy this season, because for the first time in ages, it's a good one. Silver versus red, like it was in the good old days of the late 90s. Ferrari fans, you just need to accept that as it stands, Ferrari's season is being wrecked on the pit wall and by Vettel, and it's now 3 races this season he has made major mistakes at, and that equals roughly 6 or 7 major mistakes in 12 months. The Daily Mail recently reported that in the last 12 months, Vettel has thrown away over 150 points to Lewis. Some races you win, some races you lose. It's that simple. And with the gloating of how easy Monza was going to be with the high-powered engines, well, I'm not sure about Italy, but in England we have a saying: do not count your chickens until they have hatched. It's not over yet. And Mercedes fans, stop baiting them. You'll know better. Both sides need to learn to take losing like men and stop behaving like petulant kids on an internet. Ferrari has the pace, but Mercedes has the brains. And Lewis Hamilton. Many were expecting another Singapore moment, and in a way, we almost got one. Seb tried to win it on lap 1 again with a moment of impatience, and it cost him and Ferrari a win. You could tell from his "we speak later" comment that he wasn't going to stand for starting second. And as my wife and I went to bed on Saturday night, we both said, Seb sounded pissed, I won't be surprised if he hit Kimi on lap 1. We weren't completely wrong. He went for it when he didn't need to, and you just knew he'd go for it on the first lap. But what's your take on it all? Are you a pissed off Ferrari fan? Are you a jubilant Lewis or Mercedes fan? Or are you like me, a Williams fan, and just happy to see a point? Let me know in the comments. So that's my joint review, rant, opinion on the happenings of the Italian Grand Prix. Like I say, leave your own thoughts below, and remember to like this video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to join in more discussions, see more races, more reviews, and my 2 other series, The Road to Formula 1 and Storytime. Thanks for stopping by, have a great day wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for 900 subscribers, and I'll see you all again on Friday for another video. Goodbye.